Hello and welcome. In today's episode, I'm going to share encounters with reptilians. These stories include one that has to do with someone having a dream about reptilian beings, but not like the ones I've talked about on this channel before. This one is in relation to the theory involving reptilian beings disguised as humans. This is a long-running theory that claims that there are reptilian creatures posing as humans, and that they could possibly be aliens, with some being as high up as in our own government. I won't speak to that though, but I will share this fascinating story where these beings invade a man's dreams. Then we have a story where one man's son saw something terrifying while looking out his bedroom window one night. But first, we have a story told by John Reed Swanton, who included this encounter in his book, Myths and Tales of the Southeastern Indians, published in 1929, where Native Americans encountered a creature while out hunting. Before we get started, I just want to say that a lot of people turn to posting their stories online because they feel like they can't tell anyone and would be seen as crazy if they did. Most people who experience these beings are traumatized and feel the need to unburden themselves, or just have someone who will believe them listen to their story. If you've had an encounter and you feel like you can't tell anyone for fear of being made fun of, ridiculed, called a liar, or any other reason, email me. You'll find a sympathetic ear here who will believe you. I do want to mention that just because you email me your story, it doesn't mean it will end up in an episode on my channel. Your story can stay between me and you if that's what you want. Also, if you've had an encounter and you'd like to come on an episode and tell your story, email me. My email is wolfwhocriedcryptid@gmail.com. Alright, let's get into today's stories. The first story of this episode comes to us from a book by John Reed Swanton, published in 1929, which means the story happened sometime before then, which makes this a very early sighting of a lizard man. A group of Native American hunters had set up camp deep in the wilderness. One evening, one of them returned with exciting news. "I found a tree that's home to a massive bear," he said. He described what he'd seen, and the others agreed. At first light, they would head there, build a fire beneath the trunk, and smoke the creature out to catch a glimpse of it. At dawn, they made their way to the site. The tree loomed large, its base hollowed and strange, and it gave off the impression of being occupied. "Something definitely lives there," one said, and without hesitation they lit a fire underneath. Smoke began to curl into the tree's interior, and instead of a bear, a huge scaled lizard emerged. It saw the humans and lunged. Chaos erupted. The creature seized one of the men and dragged him back to the tree and threw him down inside. Then it raced after another, captured him, and did the same. On and on it went, chasing, catching, and returning each hunter to its lair, until only one remained. He fled, running fast and far, but the beast was relentless and eventually caught up to him. As it hauled the last man through a thicket of dense trees, a sleeping panther suddenly stirred. Sensing danger, the panther leapt onto the monster. The lizard dropped its prey, turning to battle the feline in a fierce clash of claws and teeth. Seizing his chance, the man scrambled to his feet and fled into the forest. Only he returned to tell the tale. His voice trembled as he recounted how the great lizard had hunted down his companions, each one dragged into the tree and never seen again. There are many stories about the things that Native Americans have seen before European settlers came to North America. Tales of them interacting with Sasquatch all the way to seeing tiny humanoid people. This story is no different with them coming across the lair of a reptilian cryptid. What a harrowing ordeal that survivor endured. I'm sure being the only one to make it back was a hard thing to deal with, and I would hate to think what happened to the others. But for a creature like this to, from what it sounds like, easily take out that many hunters, it just shows how fast and strong these things are. I would have liked to know if they went back to try to find the others and if they stayed away from that area or even moved on. I know they set up camp deep in the wilderness, and it wasn't their permanent living situation, but depending on how far away the tribe actually was from this spot, I think I would lobby to move on. If it were me, especially back in those days, I don't care how far away we would have been. If we were even remotely close, I would have been trying to convince my tribe to relocate. What do you think about this one? And what do you think happened to those who got taken by this creature? The next story comes from a user who had an encounter with a reptilian being in his dreams. He starts by asking if anyone else has ever come face to face, whether it be in their sleep or in person, with a reptilian being. He's had several experiences that began as dreams, though the physical traces left behind cast doubt on whether they were merely just that, dreams. As a boy, he often dreamed of being taken from his home by creatures that resembled humanoid lizards, lifted into a radiant light in the sky. These vivid dreams visited him several times a month. Later in life, one particular dream stood out, a male reptilian being that introduced himself. When asked if he had a leadership role, the answer came, not spoken but impressed telepathically, quote, a commander, part of a military scientific expedition. The entity told him they'd meet again. Upon waking, his feet bore dirt and leaf fragments as if he'd wandered barefoot outdoors. That detail greatly unsettled him. During high school, he met a girl who, as their connection deepened, revealed a recurring dream of her own. A meeting with a reptilian figure who called himself, quote, a commander, tasked with observing Earth. Her description mirrored his own encounter, with the being armed with a chest plate, sleek metallic sleeves, and reinforced boots. Even the vessel, described by both as short and cigar-shaped, matched precisely. On another night, after reading online accounts about the alleged, quote, Draconians, he dreamt of asking his commander about their origin. The reply was cryptic yet affirming. They had colonies in the regions of the Draco constellation. One experience took him aboard a vessel where he was asked to place his hand upon a strange panel embedded with a luminous yellow-golden orb. When prompted to move it using only thought, the object floated effortlessly. By mentally commanding this device, he guided its motion. The reptilian explained it was a probe capable of gathering intelligence. After being returned to Earth, he woke in his bed, but again telltale signs lingered. Mud and leaves near the entryway, and his parents noted a peculiar burnt odor that morning. Years later, he met another abductee who spoke of similar golden orbs, the details eerily aligning with what he had seen. He recalls these beings communicating both aloud and telepathically. One female reptilian even shared her name, Azira. Another commented that Earth's civilization wasn't the only relatively undeveloped one under their observation. He also adds, just to clarify, that he doesn't subscribe to the conspiracy theories about reptilians running global systems or engaging in dark rituals. Those ideas hold no weight in his beliefs. There is a theory out there that has aliens appearing as these reptilian beings. It's also said that they can disguise themselves as humans and, as he mentioned at the end of his post, run global systems and engaging in dark rituals. How they do this, I'm not sure. There are a lot of videos on the internet that show their eyes supposedly changing back to yellow lizard eyes for a brief moment before changing back to regular human eyes. However, these videos are on the internet, so they have to be taken with a grain of salt. It's possible that his dreams could have been abductions, given that he had found leaves and dirt on his feet and mud on his carpet, along with the burnt odor that his parents said they smelled the next morning. That and the girl he met had the same types of dreams with the same being, the commander, and they both described the exact same spaceship. That said, though, they could have just been dreams, and he could have just been sleepwalking outside and never had figured that part of it out. But it is odd that his friend had the same exact dreams with the same creature, and they both described the same ship exactly. What do you think about this one? And what do you think about Draconians and the theory that they can disguise themselves as humans and even run global events? The final story of this episode comes to us from a poster whose son saw something terrifying in the street outside of his bedroom window one night. He says he hesitated to share his story, unsure whether it was something worth sharing, but wonders if anyone else might have gone through something similar. About a week before he posted his story online, his 8-year-old son came to him, visibly shaken, and described something unsettling he'd seen just before going to bed. He'd been looking out the window on the first floor overlooking a dimly lit street flanked by trees with scattered street lamps when he spotted a figure. What he saw was a tall, man-shaped silhouette with a back that resembled a crocodile's. The sight terrified him. He says his son isn't the type to invent wild tales, and his reaction was immediate. He dove under his blanket and didn't dare look again. Even days later, he insisted on what he had seen. He never once altered a single detail and keeps pleading for his father to believe him. For context, the boy has no exposure to theories about reptilian beings. His only explanation was, quote, "Dinosaurs aren't supposed to be alive anymore." In an edit to the story, the original poster shared more details about his son's experience. He says that he didn't expect the story to draw so much attention, but seeing the speculation and the responses, he felt it necessary to clarify a few things. The first thing that he says is that they live far up north where daylight is scarce that time of year. There are no alligators, no drug addicts, and no transient population in the area. It's a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of a mid-sized city, bordered by the sea on one side and a stretch of swampy forest on the other. The street itself has homes only on one side. The opposite side is dense with trees and shrubs that gradually fade into the wetland. The spot where his son saw the figure is a partially illuminated road lined with trees that stand about 9 feet tall. According to his son, the creature had a scaly back and was only visible from behind. No face, no color, just a dark silhouette. His best guess was, quote, some kind of dinosaur. The son is unfamiliar with the concept of reptilians, and the original poster is confident of that since his son isn't allowed unsupervised internet access. He's not on any medication aside from standard multivitamins and vitamin D supplements. He's also not claiming this proves anything. It's just a strange personal account from a child who saw something he could not explain. I saw one comment on this story that bears repeating. The original poster believes his son, and that is what's important. I've so often talked about how people usually have to carry their encounters by themselves because they don't have anyone to talk to about them, especially someone who will actually believe them. I'm sure his son was scared enough, and his father dismissing it or telling him he saw something other than what he believes he did would probably have made it worse. As far as what his son describes, this does sound like a reptilian creature. Him comparing it to a dinosaur further cements that for me. They are usually found in deserts, but one of the most famous, if not the most famous, lizard man of South Carolina is said to be near a swampy or marshy area of the state. I wasn't surprised when he said that there was a marshy area near his home, right across the street from where his son saw this thing. It would be the perfect spot, one where not many people would venture into, that it could live and go unnoticed. What do you think about this one? And what would you do if you looked outside and saw a creature like that? And that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed these stories. If you'd like to hear more stories like these and other types of cryptids, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to send me your story, I'd love to read it. My email is wolfwhocriedcryptid@gmail.com. I will also put my email in the description below. With your permission, I may want to use your story in an episode. Even if you'd prefer I didn't share your story on my channel and just want someone to listen, email me. We can privately talk about your encounter. Also, if you'd like to come on an episode and tell your own story, email me. Please remember to keep it civil in the comment section. No one deserves to be ridiculed whether they believe or not. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you at the next episode.